Short prayer to the moon. Moon, though your energies be uncertain, I beseech you, protect him, protect all of us from our nightly visions. May the murderer and the hero withdraw gently from this, our despairing prescript. May daylight return. May we drink from the cup of gratitude. May we last long enough to make note of our error. Though burdened by knowledge, may we walk out into the open. Though burdened by knowledge, may the clouds lift from our eyes. Hour by hour, may we learn to free ourselves from prayer.
Thanks, Vivek. Welcome to the Indian Cultural Forum. With me, the poet Vivek Narayanan, who has written 2 books of poems and is working on a third one. The 2 collections are called Universal Beach, published by Harborline, and Life and Times of Mr. S, published by HarperCollins. Could you tell us something about your Ramayana poems? I know that you're working on them, so could you tell us how far you've progressed?
I've been working on it for a few years now, and it's a project, it's a book dedicated to Arsha Sathar, who pushed me to read Valmiki's Ramayana, despite resistances that I had to it. And it's a set of poems that try to read Valmiki's Ramayana closely, focusing on specific passages, and trying to harness or manifest some of the subversive energy in Valmiki. Because I'm not a scholar, I should say that, but my own feeling after having spent some time with it is that there are in fact almost like 2 different things going on in Valmiki. So on one hand, it seems to be a poem in praise of a king and in praise of conquest, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, there's a constant understream, which I think is actually a critique of Rama and a critique of conquest. And so it is this other stream, the questioning Ramayana, that I'm trying to pull out, and I find it very much there in Valmiki from the start. So much so that at least again as a non-scholar I have to wonder if in fact Valmiki intended it this way, that in the classic relationship of poet to patron, that in fact he was writing a poem in praise of the king that was also in many ways questioning the king. And it is this contradiction, which is not an error, which is right there right in Valmiki itself. That is what makes the Ramayana fascinating and a great work, and one with tremendous influence across Asia and so on and so forth. So I'm trying to harness that kind of counter energy that's running below the Ramayana.
I hope you do realize that I'm sure you did not intend it this way, but you're writing it at a time when we are being told that there are certain ways to reading certain classical texts in India, and there was a controversy over 300 Ramayanas being taken off the Delhi University syllabus. So, I mean, do you understand the implications of your just reading or supplying a kind of reading? And if you do understand the implications, how far do you think it's important to read Ramayana in these many different ways that you suggested?
When I began this project, which I think must have been in 2010 or 2011, I had the sense that it was going in surprising directions, and it was a reading of the Ramayana which somehow felt familiar, but yet was not the one that I had been given. That I thought it was not the Ramayana that I had thought of as I had understood it all these years. But at that time, I never felt a sense of threat, because I felt that that was a moment when things were still in the process of opening up in contemporary Indian society. And so now I find myself in a very different place, because it seems now this is a point where there's a lot of pressure to close up readings of the Ramayana. But see, the thing is that I think that the Ramayana has always been multiple, always, right at its very core, it exists in multiple forms, and this accounts for its immense power and its reach and its appeal, all of those things. For instance, if you look at the Shastras, you get a picture of Indian society and the caste system, which is very, very static. But if you read the epics, you find that there's constant challenges and constant ways in which things have to be controlled and disciplined and so on and so forth. And so it is in the Indian epics that, although it's mediated by upper castes, it is in the epics that you really hear voices from below, and these voices then account for the appeal. So that very multiplicity is the key to the Ramayana's literary greatness, I think, but it's key to its political power. So I feel that anybody who wants to close down that multiplicity and enforce only one reading of the Ramayana is doomed to fail, because the idea of the questioning Ramayana, the idea of the doubts, the questions it makes us raise about the nature of power, about the nature of discipline, about the nature of society, go much farther back, and it's a much deeper tradition that any of the sort of regressive forces who are trying to impose a singular view of it will be able to eventually address, I think. And so in that sense, although I don't think Ramanujan necessarily knew, or I think he did on some level, but he couldn't have anticipated the banning of his essay. I can understand why the Ramayana would be troubling, why a close reading of the Ramayana would be troubling to people who want to impose a singular idea of what Indian culture, Indian society should be.